Hi there, welcome back to the cutting board. It's a beautiful spring morning here. I hope you're getting similar wherever you are. As you know, I cut all of the bespoke patterns by hand. It's called Rock of Eye. Basically, we don't use a block pattern. We just have basic measures that we draft out on paper like this, and then we can produce whatever we need to do from it. And from this pattern, we'll cut a double-breasted, which I'm going to do now. And we'll also cut overcoats and body coats, tails. We'll do anything we need to. So this is probably of more interest to the people who are learning the trade, and I know there's quite a lot of that follow us, which is great. So I'm going to run through it with you. Hope you find it interesting. Single-breasted pattern. We draw ourselves a front edge with a stick. Then, depending on the size of the chap, we put an allowance on the front edge. And on this occasion, it's 2 3/8 of an inch. So we put that little mark there. Now I line up the cloth, the pattern on the cloth, so the grain is running nicely. And I'll weight it with my shears. Now then, first of all, mark his top shoulder, and we straighten a double-breasted. Okay, 5/8, half an inch, something like that. Just mark my top inlay. For reference, I mark the old side, the armhole, nice and lightly, and I'll run down the side seam nice and lightly, and then I check my balance here, and I've got a new line. When we straighten a coat and we follow a line up, you can see you get a little bit of extra height. So it's good practice, I always find, just to pass your back up a little bit. Okay, so we don't end up, and then mark that waist through, and we'll shorten that off a little bit there. So we've marked the side seam, adjusted the balance a little bit, marked the old side, straighten the neck point. Okay, now then, no hard and fast rules, but when we do a double-breasted, I always find the chest, because of the things that we do, gets a little bit bulky. So I like to just chip the chest a little bit, small quarter, then run it in nicely to my waist, and softly out to my new line on there. Okay. Now then, we've got a shoulder measurement on here of 6.5, so we reapply that with seams. That's my new balance mark. Just check that armhole depth, 7.5, that's fine. And then I'm going to lean into the camera a little bit here. So what I want to do is just mark in a nice new sigh. Okay. Now I know this sounds a really weird way to describe things, but when you're trying to get a nice curve, nice lines, it should be in your arm. It's your arm that moves. Don't try to do it in your wrist, because you get a sweeter line if you keep your arm stiff and strike that shape in that we want there. So we're marking our new pitch. Okay, and then when we've done that, we can now start looking at building the lapel. Double-breasted should drop down about 5/8. I literally, on the grain of the cloth, will get that about 90 degrees with my eye, put a faint line in, and then we'll just bring that fella down there, bring it off onto that. Okay, now then, let's mark the pockets. Got a little formula for that, which I won't bore you with. So it's 24, that's 12, about 11 and 3/4. Mark my side vents, which we're going to have. From working out that back position, I want to strike in my bottom button. Okay. Next button, around about 3 3/4, 4 inches, and of course what it should be doing is lining up with the waist, and it is. Just strike that one in. Now, this old yardstick I've had forever has just got the right amount of collar stand, so I put that on the neck point, bring that into the roll when I'm doing it, strike a line in. Work out my chest shape there, so about 4.5. Very simple, light flowing lines. Like in a pocket width, we do 6.5 to 7 inches. So I'm splitting the difference on this one, about 6 3/4. Okay, and you just mark that straight across. Mark my flap down, slight angle. Because it's a double-breasted, it's always sharp square corners. There's no curve to the flap. Okay, and then you just mark our ticket in the right cross there. That's our rear dart. And again, no side bodies. So all I'm going to put in here is strike in a nice little fishtail dart. Suppression there at the waist. Back here, a little bit below. Now, the lapel. People will often ask, well, what sort of a lapel do you do and how do you do it and all the rest of it. And my answer in Bespoke is, well, I do it the way I cut it on the day. I don't have a pattern for the lapels. I interact with the client, I look at the dimensions, and I try to cut a lapel that looks nice. And that's everything we're trying to do, is to make something look nice. So I have a routine. This will get done to a fitting, so we won't actually cut the lapel. We will see the shape of the lapel, and some of you who have an eye for that sort of thing will like it, and some of you won't. Striking a double-breasted lapel. First of all, we mark the height of our gorge. Put a nice curve in there and strike that down. This is just a rule of thumb, but I normally look for about 4.5, 4 3/4 inches down to there. Most tailors actually use a pattern for the DB lapels, and I can get that because it's easier and you will get consistency. But it's just the way it works, so a bit academic really. Okay, we want a decent lapel on here, about 4 inches I think. So that's our sole line there. What I do before I shape the points is I actually strike in my lapel and try and get a nice bit of a belly on it, so I'm leaning into you here. About 2 3/8 there. Okay. Now we'll leave a good inlay on the side there. That's an actual sew line that will come into there. So you can see we get a nice bow to it. Get that point going up, not out. So we don't want to sidewalk a lapel. Okay. Now we can put in our breast pocket. 10, 10.5, depending on the bottom height. I like to just look at the whole body give myself a couple of guidelines, look at that side and just say to myself, you know, am I getting this nicely proportioned? Okay. Again, judge this. Remember, because of the small side, we might end up clearing that. Nice 4.5 inches wide. Do any fine tuning that you want. Just cut that dart down, don't want that ending too high. And that is looking pretty good. So when we cut this, we'll leave an inlay on here, and we will actually cut the lapel after it's been fitted. But there you have it. We've just got a single breasted and we've turned it into a double breasted. Very freehand, very simple. I hope it was useful for you. As I say, a little bit more back balance, just chipped in the chest area a little bit, straightened the neck point, and then just struck in a nice lapel with a bit of a ball curve on it. Perhaps a little bit later on I'll show you a video where we cut it and we come back to look at it properly, but I think that's when it needs to be tried on, and then you can see how we shape it. Alright, brilliant. Thank you for dropping in, and remember to follow us, Redman1860 on Instagram, and like the channel and such like. So thank you for dropping in. Take care, bye bye.